Hey, it's football and other F words live from the Mobile Pool Hall, Airbnb, brought to you by Lions Ford. Hey, let me say this. If it was not for Lions Ford and their fabulous all-terrain
goat mode,
all-terrain vehicle, I don't think I would have been able to pick you up.
No, and I did not think there's a big neighborhood to get into my neighborhood. There's a big hill to get into my neighborhood, I should say. And then there's a big hill up my cul-de-sac. That's what she said. And I did not think that you would be able to make it up either hill. I was planning to walk out the neighborhood to meet you, but lo and behold, you were there.
That would also, after videotaping you earlier trying to walk out to your back porch, I think we would have been an hour late to the show.
Yeah, you gotta stomp on that ice. I was trying to walk across it, and I was slipping and sliding all over the place. And then I got a little traction when I started just stomping through it and kind of getting my feet on in there.
Well, we had about a 6 or 7 hour drive down here.
Yeah,
we talked a lot about Robert Saleh.
We did.
We talked a lot about the offensive coordinator, and we talked a lot about these Senior Bowl measurements and these Senior Bowl players, and that's what we're going to be talking about this today and this entire week. Thanks to Lions Ford. LionsFord.net is the website. Drive a little, save a lot. They're located in Lewisburg, Tennessee. They'll give you every discount that you qualify for on new cars, and they'll give you the most for your trade-in. Lions Ford. And, of course, thanks to 104.5 The Zone for letting us be the hooligans that come down here.
Yeah.
Fourth year for me. Fifth year for you.
Year 5 for me.
Year 5. So fourth year for us, though.
I haven't even taken my credential off yet.
That's you haven't taken off the credential you got 5 years ago. That's the 5 years ago credential.
Yeah, I just wear it all the time. Wear it around the house.
Yeah. If you guys got questions, put them in the chat. We'll answer them. This is, of course, the Senior Bowl preview show for football and other F words. And let's start off this way. Whoa. Robert Saleh is the head coach. Tiny bit of controversy with how it all went down behind the scenes, but a 5-hour interview can make you and qualified to be the NFL head coach.
That's what it seems like. It seems like they, you know what? Maybe that's all they needed to see was that 5 hours. And they said, you know what? This is our guy.
Do you think they got mesmerized by the bald head? But there's no other facial hair. So he wasn't like Matt Nagy has the goatee.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks like an evil James Bond villain, and Robert Saleh does not.
He probably, if I had to guess, and this is just pure speculation, I'm going to say he was probably sitting there at the 5-hour mark, and he was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I want to go home. I want to get out of here. So he just told the Titans he was going to be their next head coach. And if you've ever heard that man talk, if he tells you something, you better follow the instructions.
Maybe he does like a wrestle match, like he rips off his shirt and says, if you can pin me, I won't be your head coach.
Yeah. Something like that. Absolutely. I might have thrown somebody through a window. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, just spitballing.
You just never know. You never know. Okay, so obviously we pretty much were convinced that it was going to be Matt Nagy. And it seemed like took some convincing in the room for it not to be Matt Nagy, is I guess a polite way to put it.
It felt like an 11th hour kind of deal where we were expecting Matt Nagy, and every coaching domino that fell before it was like, oh yeah, it's inevitable. It's Matt Nagy. Yeah. And then boom, here's Robert Saleh.
And I will say, they skipped and put Robert Saleh ahead of the line. They were like, oh, we don't need a Zoom interview for you. We could just go look at all the good work you did up in New York.
Right.
And then now we got it. Our research is set.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is also the offensive coordinator, and apparently he came in with this grand plan for Cam Ward.
I would be very curious to see it.
Well, everybody would. We'll probably never get to see it unless and because I don't know how the grand plan can be had without having an idea of what scheme you want to run. And it seems like we have very differing schemes between Daboll and Cliff and Stenovich and even Art Smith, whose scheme is from the Jurassic era. But they also, and even Bobby Sloak is a little bit different than the rest of them. It just seems like
what do you want?
What is the plan? What plan do you have other than I make Cam Ward good? Is that the plan? That's where I'm kind of a little confused. But the offensive coordinator bails him out, right? The offensive coordinator is the head coach of the offense. He doesn't get to pick his entire staff. Some members were already picked for him, which is, I find, a little weird. But I do think that if you get Brian Daboll or you get Cliff Kingsbury, I'll even go on a limb and say Adam Stenovich, then I feel like you probably got a good thing, and maybe that's the plan. I'm hiring an offensive head coach, not hiring Mike LaFleur.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. You can't tell us the plan, though. I mean,
Right.
I might want to see it, but you can't tell it because then everybody else knows what the plan is, and they could potentially foil the plan as rivals of the Titans. So Robert Saleh, probably smart to not reveal the plan to us, but I hope one day we get to see it. Reading the tea leaves a little bit, it is kind of hard to get a read on what exact style of offense Robert Saleh wants for this team. And I think the overarching theme, something that you and I talked about on the way down here, was just like Cam Ward has to be at the center of this thing. This has to be about making Cam Ward better. And I couldn't help but wonder, as you look at this list of finalists as it's whittling down, Arthur Smith, Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Daboll, Adam Stenovich, and Bobby Slowick.
And Thad Lewis and the mystery Rooney Rule. Like, why do we have a mystery?
I don't know.
Can we not just tell us who is it? So embarrassing, whoever this person is. And I say person because it could be a woman. We can't rule out that it's Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah.
But like, how can you guys just not tell us who it is?
I don't know. And it's a really baffling thing because when you report it as, oh, it's a mystery, there's been another Rooney Rule compliant interview, it just makes it sound like they don't want us to know. Like, how does this happen without anybody on the Titans beat catching wind of it? And it's really fascinating. But you look at a lot of these guys, because there were rumors from the onset about Salah plucking somebody from the 49ers staff or Mike LaFleur or, somebody like that. I guess you could say Slowick is of that tree, but he's kind of evolved since being the OC of the Texans and now on with his work under Mike McDaniel in Miami. And then Stenovich maybe under LaFleur by extension, but otherwise you're looking at Kingsbury, Daboll, Arthur Smith. These guys were not like McVay, Shanahan disciples. Like, they're all very different offenses. And my only thinking was maybe Salah's looking at it as, well, if defenses are evolving, because like 16 teams in the NFL run this McVay, Shanahan offense or some variation of it, maybe he's looking to do something different. Maybe he's looking to do something potentially a little more simple and a little more about the personnel and the physicality aspect of it than he is the scheme, the X's and O's, was my best takeaway from it.
And I think what you're seeing is not only maybe the Tennessee Titans leaning into experience at play caller, extensive experience at play calling. I mean, when you look at Art, when you look at Cliff, when you look at Daboll, Slowick and Stenovich, and even Mike LaFleur are kind of on the outset. We're talking about 2 years apiece from each of those guys, and then Stenovich has never done it. But the main guys they seem to be interested in have done it for a while, and maybe that plays into the entire plan being, my plan is to let someone else have a plan. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing because he is a defensive head coach, but my plan is to find the best offensive coordinator that has a scheme that fits with Cam Ward. And I think while there are concerns to Cliff Kingsbury's scheme in general that we can address, Brian Daboll, Cliff Kingsbury seem to have schemes or experience with schemes that do fit what Cam Ward wants to do. Generally, what he told us all offseason he wants to do, what his tape shows him that shows that he can do as a prospect and as a pro. And maybe that's the plan. Like, the plan is, my plan is I'm not going to hire my buddies. I'm not going to hire Mike LaFleur.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here. I heard back on October 2nd that Robert Saleh wanted this job. And if that's the case, his plan and his preparation for this job, going back to the 5-hour interview, maybe that's the reason why it only had to take 5 hours, because he was so prepared, had a plan. And he said, I've watched enough Cam Ward this year to know that the LaFleur system won't work. I watched enough to know that maybe for Mike LaFleur is what I mean. Like that way that Mike LaFleur wants to call plays and wants to run the offense, with my experience with Zach Wilson and him, this won't work.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And because we did have concerns that with the strictness of the Kyle Shanahan offense in and of itself and what it asks his quarterbacks, maybe that's not a fit for Cam Ward.
Sure.
Right now, this version of Cam Ward.
Yeah.
And so maybe he's leaning into experience. Not only did the Titans lean into experience in their head coaching search, but they leaned into experience from what he learned in that, saying, hey, when I was up there, I didn't really trust Nathaniel Hackett in year 2 when I was up with the Jets. I want to bring in Cliff Kingsbury. I want to bring in Art Smith. I wanted to bring in Luke Getsy and some of these other names to take on a position to help bring in new ideas. And going back to your statement earlier, is that maybe this influx of new ideas and different offenses, and maybe he has faced these offenses as a defensive coordinator, as head coach of the Jets, and said, these are the offenses that give me the most issues.
It would be fun to look back at some of the games that the Jets really struggled in to kind of see if we could fish out which of those offense fit the bill. I think it's also interesting that the top of this candidate search seems to be focused on guys with head coaching experience when we're looking at this hire potentially being the head coach of the offense. So it's almost like two separate divisions. And part of me wonders if that is the plan as well. If you could say, well, I know we can get an experienced play caller, an experienced head coach to fill this position because that's what that side of the ball needs. So, I mean, I don't know how you can go about making such guarantees, but it kind of feels like that's where, at least at the top of this coaching search, that's kind of what their focus is on right now, with guys like Daboll, Kingsbury, and Art Smith, before Smith took the job at Ohio State, of course.
Because there's no reason to be really too concerned about defensive coordinator, because Robert Saleh is your de facto defensive coordinator. So all eyes on the offensive coordinator, then all eyes on the quarterback coach, all eyes on the offensive line coach. Like that's how it really goes. As far as, this team really wanted to keep Luke Stalker, obviously.
Yeah.
Salah, I guess, met with him, wanted to keep him. Maybe he didn't. He was forced to. Who knows? Always good to get off on the wrong foot when you're the Tennessee Titans.
Yes, at the presser.
But obviously, the run game coordinator / tight ends coach, the job he did in the second half of the season with the run game once Bill Callahan left, was tremendous. And I wonder, when we talk about plans of succession, maybe Stalker wasn't the guy that Robert Saleh was mentioning, but maybe that's the guy that he wants to succeed, whoever may come in.
Yeah.
And whether that's Brian Daboll, who probably will bring in Shea Tierney, who is a guy to watch as a quarterback's coach if it's him, or maybe it's Cliff Kingsbury, who lost his quarterback coach to be the offensive coordinator of the Commanders after he left, and David Blau. Maybe it's going to be Luke Stalker, which, I'm okay with. I know everybody thinks that you have to be a quarterback coach to be an offensive coordinator, and that's just stupid.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
But I do think that when it comes down to it, if it's Daboll seems to be the guy. Mike Garafolo pretty much said, word for word, if he doesn't take the head coaching job at Buffalo or doesn't get it, the Titans are going to hire him ASAP.
Yeah,
that's pretty right there. And I think that Brian Daboll, out of all the offensive coordinators that you can have, showed in Buffalo, specifically in Buffalo, when you're not a head coach and just an offensive coordinator like he will be here, and he will be in the same position, right? Offensive head coach, because Sean McDermott was a defensive guy. He can do the job and do the job well, and he can match his personnel to his player. He's had experience in the Earnhardt Perkins. He's had experience in spread, college, you name it. He's done it.
Yeah, he's the one guy that we're talking about in these names that feels like has really worked. He's not tied to a single system. And It's good that he has the head coaching experience. It's good that he has the track record he has with Josh Allen in Buffalo. I mean, I don't know if we want to get into all that, but like the way he tweaked his offense to suit Josh Allen's strengths, to call up some of those deep shots and the bombs and stuff like that. Like, he has a track record of fitting his offense to his players. He has a track record of developing a quarterback, but he also has experience in a number of systems. He's not just tied to one scheme, which I think I can't think of many offensive coordinator candidates off the top of my head that are like that. And that's part of the nature of the game today. It's like you've got all these wonder kids coming up in these systems that it's like you pluck the next one out and just pop him in and insert it, and you keep running. And that's how you end up in a situation where like half the league's running the same offense. But Daboll is a guy that has a pretty deep playbook and can run several different things. And I think has earned a little bit of trust and leeway to say he could come in here and design something and call something with the strengths of Cam Ward in mind, no matter what that is.
Well, and a lot of people wonder what's Brian Daboll's connection to Robert Saleh. And we talk about like the going up against that offense or seeing that guy work his magic. Robert Saleh and the Jets, during his time when he was head coach there, practiced in 2022 and 2024 in joint practices against Brian Daboll and the Giants, if my math is correct, because Brian Daboll was there for 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think so.
So that would make a lot of sense, and where there's a connection even there, even if maybe there's a little bit of a tinge of, hey, we interviewed Brian Daboll. What do you think about Brian Daboll? But what do you really think? And hey, what if it was Brian Daboll? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I like Brian Daboll because they tried to make it work in 2018 and 2019 with Josh Allen by doing everything he did in college, heavy personnel. And this is what he ran in college. So let's run 13 personnel out there, blah, 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 blah. And then they kind of realized, wait a minute. Josh Allen sucked as a college quarterback.
Yeah, he was all projection, all ceiling.
It was all projection, all ceiling. This why are we running stuff that he couldn't even run in college successfully?
That's a good question.
In the NFL?
It's a good question.
Because, that's what everybody that's the sensible thing to start off doing, is to be like, you ran this stuff in college, let's implement it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time it doesn't. And so what they did was instead lean into his hero ball mentality, spread everybody out, even run from the spread, and say, listen, we're going to pass it. We're going to show that we're passing it, and you have to stop us.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams couldn't stop him.
Well, that's when we saw Josh Allen start to really blossom at the next level.
Yeah.
Because, man, those early days were not kind to Josh Allen. I mean, it didn't look great right out of the gate, and there were a lot of Bills fans that were kind of already saying, this guy's a bust. And then you see the effects of Daboll tweaking the offense a little bit, and now this guy's a perennial MVP candidate.
And I will also say this, what's cool about Brian Daboll is that they ran that offense pretty much all through 2021. Yeah. And then when they get to the game against the Kansas City in the playoffs, before they go and face the Bengals in the championship, they go heavy personnel, shrink the field, because that's everything that Kansas City is prepared for, and they weren't prepared for that power run game and that power formation. And then Brian Daboll gets the job at the New York Giants.
Just like that.
So for me, it's like I think Brian Daboll can also bring a pretty good staff with him. Maybe Carmen Basilio, I think is his
offensive line coach.
The offensive line coach, Shea Tierney, who already mentioned his quarterbacks coach. He obviously has Randy Jordan already here.
He has ties to Nick Saban.
He has ties to Nick Saban. Shea Tierney was with him at Alabama, by the way, as well.
Oh, there we go.
Followed him to Buffalo. Shea Tierney went from Alabama to Buffalo to the Giants with Brian Daboll.
He's a tag along.
He's a tag along.
Yeah.
So at the same time, Josh Allen, I know, has become an MVP candidate and obviously MVP award winner. But that was the beginning of his ascent in that 2019 to 2020 season.
Yeah.
And even in 2021, he was playing at an MVP level.
Yeah.
So that's a guy that's developed a quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury is a little bit of a different situation for me.
I would agree.
It's like, has he developed a quarterback? Because we're talking about like Patrick Mahomes was a bad NFL prospect. Like, I mean, he wasn't a very clean NFL ready prospect.
He did not have the production and the tape that you usually look for in a first round quarterback.
And then the people that wanted to do Caleb Williams and say, well, he developed Caleb Williams as a senior offensive assistant or analyst or whatever his title. He wasn't quarterback coach. He wasn't offensive coordinator. He wasn't play caller. He wasn't head coach.
No, he was
and
there.
So we're going to give him credit for Caleb Williams. Kyler Murray.
Whew.
Well, I think we know that Kyler Murray's not as good as what maybe you could say that Cliff Kingsbury did a great job with Kyler Murray because some team overpaid him, Arizona Cardinals.
I mean, Cliff Kingsbury did better with Kyler Murray than Drew Petzing did.
Yeah, and I will say this: Jaden Daniels is a good example, but that was a 1-year thing.
Yeah,
Jaden Daniels still wasn't even in the games that he was healthy at the beginning of the season. Still didn't look like the same Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you saw with C.J. Stroud. So we may not know if that's a offensive coordinator, a.k.a. Bobby Sloak being thrown under the bus, or if that's the quarterback issue. If you had to say something about Cliff Kingsbury, is that the cliff is real.
It is, yeah.
Because there is always eventually a fall off. And his time at Arizona, basically defenders came out and said that his offense becomes really predictable.
Yeah, you start to figure out the tendencies.
And then I look at how typically quarterback designed runs play a heavy role in his offenses.
Yeah.
Where do we really, because even when you look at what he did in college, those guys like Patrick Mahomes still had 120 carries each season, not 120 carries, and some of those are sacks because sometimes those are sacks. He had 120 carries each season. That's not great.
No.
And that's not a strength of Cam Ward's game. You want him to run more, but you don't want him to be out like Jaden Daniels out there running around.
Don't be a running quarterback.
Yeah, you don't want him to be like RG3 or anything like that. You want him to be a scrambler. So my concern with Cliff is his predictability, but his offense and his adaptability.
Yeah.
But his offense is a fit for Cam Ward if he's flexible and adaptable.
Vertical passing concepts, baby. I think, I can't remember if it was the Arizona or the first year at Washington, but I read a breakdown of his offense, and I wish I could remember the author off the top of my head, but talking about how much Kingsbury liked to run read option stuff. And the reason that doesn't work in the NFL, I mean, one, the quality of athlete changes, but also like defenses figure out, okay, this is the player that the quarterback is reading, defensive end, edge rusher. If he rushes, the quarterback's going to tuck the ball and he's going to run around where the space, into the space that the edge rusher vacated. If he doesn't, they're just going to hand the ball off to the running back and the running back runs inside. So apparently the premise of this was teams started to realize, okay, this is just going to be read option, so we're just not ever going to rush the read player. So the defensive end would just kind of hang there and force the quarterback to hand the ball off to the running back, and the linebackers would be there to swarm it. And the criticism of that was that Kingsbury never really developed a counterpunch for that. It just kept going out there and running the same stuff. So for me, if he's a serious contender here, one, I kind of want to see him put together an offense that isn't so reliant on quarterback runs. And two, I want to see the willingness to be able to adapt and evolve and change when you need to change.
Because eventually you're going to run out of chances to be an offensive coordinator. And and maybe his good looks will carry him for a while.
I mean,
but eventually you run out of options, right? If you continue to have the same issues now at 3 different spots, then you are the issue.
That's 3 strikes and you're out, buddy.
Right. And for me, the other concern is how does the offensive line fit within his scheme? Because we're talking about a guy that ran, what I say today, 62% no huddle the last 2 years combined.
Mm-hmm.
Can our offensive line keep up with that?
Are they athletic enough?
But also, can our defense sustain being able to do that? Because that's what got him fired with Dan Quinn, is that Dan Quinn's like, please run the ball, be a little bit more traditional.
We need
You're
to establish
killing the
run.
defense.
Yeah, because it results in these 3 and outs. The defense is on the field, and that's kind of we saw that quite a bit early on.
Ed
with the
Henry
Titans.
just asked that same question that we're answering now about the offensive line.
Nice, but like if I've totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry,
that's okay.
But we were talking about the offensive line, but we're also talking about keeping the defense on the field because
we saw that a little bit early on with the Titans this season. Was that like the offense could not sustain a drive, and the defense? How many times this season did we say, well, the defense played really great, but they were asked to be perfect, and by the time you get to the fourth quarter, the dam breaks. Like that's not, you can't go from that to more of that, just a different play caller. And I think that's where, it's another area where can you evolve as a play caller, as an offensive coordinator? Can you change? Can you take that information and build something better with it?
And I like that, Cam has been part of the air raid offense at Incarnate Word and University of Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
He's been part of that offense. He knows it intimately. It would be a pretty big benefit. And what I like about both these offenses we just kind of talked about is the fact that you don't you want them, but you don't need superstar wide receivers. You don't need superstar running backs or superstar tight ends for the offense to be successful. And right now, it's really hard to picture where you find a superstar playmaker outside of the draft, and then you're really looking at Jordan Tyson and Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at an injury and a running back at 4. And I'm not trying to diminish Jeremiah Love. Still love. But at the same time, we also know how the NFL feels about that.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be an interesting mix of, we may not still have the playmakers, but you still should be able to move the ball and move the ball well and score points better than you have the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking since first year, I guess 2021, after Art Smith left. That 2021 season was the last year that the offense looked functional whatsoever.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of look at it like this, in the fact that with Cliff Kingsbury, it's a lot like the Josh Heupel offense, and you are going to move fast, and you're either going to be off the field fast or score fast. Either way, your defense is on the field a lot longer, and that's why I'm kind of a little surprised that Robert Saleh is kind of really heavily has entertained Cliff Kingsbury these last couple seasons. So it makes me think that he knows something about Cliff that we do not know.
We need to go back and look at Robert Saleh's history and head-to-head encounters with Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, because there would be some from his Arizona days.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and just kind of see, because I do think it's interesting, because I think Kingsbury is a guy where you do have the scheme, and the simplicity of it is in how it creates an attack space and the tempo and that sort of stuff. So it's almost as if you have the scheme to compensate for some of the void of talent. It's almost like you say, well, we don't have the playmaker just yet. It's going to be difficult to get the playmaker unless we invest the 4th overall pick in a running back or a wide receiver with an extensive injury history. But we might not need that, because we've got good enough talent and the scheme can help overcome that.
Yeah.
I think Kingsbury is that candidate.
Did you want to talk about any of the other candidates before we switch over to Senior Bowl?
No.
Okay.
Unless you did.
No.
Because I
think those are your main two. Listen, I just will say this about Stenovich. a lot of offensive coordinators have never coached quarterbacks, and all first-time offensive coordinators were never play callers before. That's why they're called first-time offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Offensive line coaches. He's been with Matt LaFleur since San Francisco at 2017 San Francisco. Then, of course, Matt LaFleur came here in 2018 Tennessee, not Mobile. And then as soon as he got the head coaching job, one of his first hires was Stenovich on the offensive line. I know everybody wants to bring up what the Packers fans on Reddit say, that Stenovich sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
that's Reddit.
We don't know what in the world that he does there and what has been turned down by Matt LaFleur or ignored, or what has been used by him or whatever. It's the same case as Sean McVay a little bit. Like, you got to see Sean McVay call some plays under Jay Gruden. Same with Kevin O'Connell, like 1 or 2 weeks with Kevin O'Connell. But for the most part, Kevin O'Connell's never really called a lot of plays.
Yeah.
And I think everybody would kill for Kevin O'Connell, the offensive coordinator. Right?
That's the truth.
For me, it's like he's part of the offensive line. He's had to first off talk to the quarterbacks. A lot of people think he, I guess, as offensive coordinator, doesn't do anything. But it's kind of like blaming Matt Nagy for what Andy Reid does. Andy Reid's set in his ways. He's been doing this for 20 fucking years.
Yeah.
It's not a Matt Nagy issue, maybe an Andy Reid issue. You see that Andy Reid is going back to someone comfortable that he knows, not someone that brings in new ideas. Okay, he's going back to Eric Bieniemy. He loves his comfort because he's like he probably realizes his roster's kind of aged out and he's gonna have to tweak and do some stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, we got to understand that this is Matt LaFleur's offense. He calls the plays, he runs the plays. Does that mean Stenovich definitely will work? Not at all. I have no clue how he is as a play caller. Does that mean that he definitely will bomb? No clue. Never have no clue how he is as a play caller. I just would not just dismiss the idea of Stenovich is all I'm saying. Yeah. That's all I want to say, because it'd be kind of like, just wait and see.
Just wait and see.
All right, let's go to the Senior Bowl. Because we're down here at Mobile. Brought to you by Lions Ford of Lewisburg, Tennessee. LionsFord.net. Drive a little, save a lot. Okay. So with the Senior Bowl, we had some measurements come in. And I want to start with an under-discussed need for the Tennessee Titans, and that's cornerback. Now, obviously, we all know they need corners.
Yeah.
But we really don't talk about it enough because there's no corner prospect at 4.
Well, okay.
There's no real corner prospect at 4.
If you say so.
Yes. But because there's edge, wide receiver, sexier options. But you look at what the Tennessee Titans want. They want 6 foot tall guys.
They want big uns.
And there's
like 12.
Ton
if
of
I'm
corners
not mistaken,
down here.
I counted 12 DBs of 6 foot height or larger.
So this is like a Mike Bergonzi, Chad Brinker, this is a Red Hulk situation.
I was about to say, I hope they brought the Jergens.
Yeah, because bring an extra pair of pants.
It's going to be a scene in the stands. This is a really interesting cornerback group, and I think when you talk about these guys, they need multiple bodies in the cornerback room, because we were kind of hashing this out on the way down here. It's like you've got Marcus Harris, but he's probably your slot. You traded away Roger McCreary. You traded away Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Who knows what's going on with L'Jarius Sneed? It's hard to imagine him factoring into the Titans' plans moving forward. So if that's true, Marcus Harris is your slot. That's all you have figured out right now. And I think you and I agree that Darrell Baker Jr. should be brought back as a depth piece, as like your corner 4 or 5. He's perfectly cast for that role. He's a guy that has improved during his time with Tennessee, but I don't think he's a guy that you want starting week in and week out. But the Titans need 2 starters outside, presumably. So this is not just hey, go get a guy. Are you okay? What happened?
Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's not here.
Oh, my God. I just realized that.
I just realized that, too. By the way, that's a Toledo defensive back, cornerback.
Safety.
He was safety?
Yeah.
I thought he was a cornerback.
Safety.
That
was dang. man, there's 34 people that have dropped out of the Senior Bowl.
Damn.
34 players. So if you're wondering why it's like 2 days before Senior Bowl week and suddenly there's a barrage of announcements of new invites, that's why, because a lot of these guys are dropping out. But this is a position that the Titans are going to attack with free agency, multiple draft picks, I would assume. I think corner is in play in the second round, but they're also probably, I would assume, probably going to take another guy on day 3 as well. It's a position they need multiple of. So there's a crop of good mid to late round guys here in Mobile this week.
Just a couple guys to highlight here, just real quick. Ephesians Prysock, which is name of the week by
Washington
corner, 6'2", almost 6'3", 194 pounds.
Yeah.
Another guy that I'm interested to watch because I loved the California Defenders last year, the California Bears.
It's good defense.
Woo, that defense is good, and that's Hezekiah Masses.
Yeah, Cal cornerback.
Yeah.
I'm curious what Tosh Lapoy does there because that system has produced some NFL stars. I'm wondering how different that's going to be.
He's 6 foot, 180. Obviously, Colton Hood is down here. He's
Fringe first rounder.
He's Fringe first rounder. Julian Neal. You brought up TJ Hall.
TJ Hall, Iowa cornerback. Those guys are just physical, will beat the fuck out of you.
And also, I'm really interested to watch this Stephen F. Austin kid, Charles Demings. He's 6'1", 191 pounds. I like small school kids that come out to the Senior Bowl because they usually put out a damn show.
Yeah, they do. And it's this is a proving ground because you think about these small school guys, you can watch their tape all you want, but it's a different level of competition. This is going to be against NFL caliber wide receivers. Now, I think there's a discussion to be had about the quality of the receivers going up against these corners and the quality of these edge rushers or these offensive tackles going up against these edge rushers. We can maybe hash that out at the end of the show, but I think the bottom line is these guys come to the Senior Bowl hungry with something to prove.
Someone mentioned Davison Igbinosun.
Who?
And Igbinosun?
Okay.
Igbinosun.
Okay. The kid from Ohio State.
Igbinosun. Well, how do you pronounce the last name?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I do not know.
And then Malik Muhammad, who are both here as well. He also mentions Pons, but Pons is not here. He's one of the many people that
backed out
for whatever reason, accepted an invite, then immediately turned back.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go from here? I'm going to let you pick the next place.
I don't know if you mentioned Julian Neal, 6'1.5", 202 pounds. He is also a guy that some think could work his way into the first round with a good week here, but I think definitely in play for the Titans in the second round if he stayed by. I don't know, Zach. I think the edge group is probably of great import to the Titans while we're down here because it's a deep group. It's a deep group in general. I mean, this edge class in the draft overall is going to be probably the strength of the draft this year. And that's reflected in the Senior Bowl as well, where there are a lot of guys. It's an interesting mix to me because you have some guys that are looking to prove themselves against a better level of competition, but you also have some guys that have some questions, have some concerns about their tape that are coming down here to show that they can be coached, that they're coachable, they can be coached up, that they can iron out some of these concerns. And we want to see a week of consistently good practice from these guys. So more people that I would say are probably in play for the Titans on day 2, maybe even day 3. I don't think anybody here this week is deserving of the 4th overall pick since we've seen Ruben Bain and David Bailey both back out of the Senior Bowl, which
by the way,
if I'm breaking that news to you, I apologize to
but
break
also
your heart.
Can I say this about the Ruben Bain stuff is like the glazing
hit him
that happened with Ruben Bain when he accepted the invite.
Yeah.
And you had people going after Jim Nagy over this, right? Like the going at him, like what is that Billy M guy that he still has a bit emoji as his profile pic?
I don't know who that is.
You would know him if you saw him.
Okay.
But he was like, this would never happen Jim Nagy never gets these kinds of players. He just gets SEC or something like that. And glazing that Ruben Bain, and then all the people were like, the competitive spirit of Ruben Bain to come to Senior Bowl. Like, have you guys even ever been to the Senior Bowl? Because when that was announced, I was like, if he's likely just coming for the interview. I would be shocked if he even practiced day one.
Yeah, me too.
And sure enough, he fucking canceled.
Yeah.
So where's that competitive spirit now? It's probably in between weeks 4 and 11 of the season.
I'm curious because it sounds like one of those situations where like everybody was so harmonious with this narrative of the competitive spirit. It almost feels like one of those situations where the agents were like, hey, make sure this gets out that he's got a strong competitive spirit and just trickled out. Because I mean, you and me and Easton and JT were talking about it. Like, I'd be shocked if he actually shows up, but everybody's just like, oh my God, the competitive spirit, this guy's will to compete. He just played in the national championship game and he's coming down to Mobile and like,
this is not a knock on Ruben Bain, by the way. This is a knock on the people that covered this.
When it was announced that he had accepted the invite, my initial reaction was why?
Yeah.
Why, if you're Ruben
because
Bain,
you're going to get measured too.
Why even do this? Yeah, that's true. That's true. David Bailey, I am disappointed because
I'm not surprised. I thought we'd get one day of practice out of him.
Yeah.
And then he would like come in. Because we've seen this before where a guy comes in, you're kind of like, why is he even here? Then he embarrasses everybody he's in front of, then you never see him again.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, that's all we wanted to see. You're good. Moving on now. But I do think like, man, I just wonder if we take stock of where these guys are at when the invites go out. And thinking back to then when David Bailey was considered like a mid to late first round guy. And as we've gotten deeper into the process, he's kind of looked like a guy that could be in play for a top 5 pick. And I think the more people that have watched him are kind of coming around on him. I just wonder if, and when we don't know, to be fair, it could be weather, it could be injuries we don't know about. It could be a number of things that are causing this, but I would think that, I don't know, maybe the hype got to a point where he received NFL feedback that like, hey man, you don't have to go do that. Maybe an agent, somebody taking stock, talking to scouts, personnel people in the NFL, and they said, nah, the tape is good enough. We'll see you at the combine. And because we've seen that happen a lot with prospects, and I'm not saying for sure that Bailey is one of those guys, but he was one of the few players that I was like, oh man, this could be a guy that could be in play for the Titans in that first round. And now we won't get to see him this week. But I do still think that while there aren't any players deserving of that 4th overall pick, there's a really good class of edge rushers down here. There's a number of guys that could be in play for the Titans. If they opt to go somewhere else at 4, maybe get a guy in the 2nd round, or maybe double up and get another guy on day 3 as well.
Yeah. What I love about this in particular is that the Senior Bowl, you're not getting a lot of high-end guys. But the bulk of your draft picks typically are on day 3.
This is the meat of the draft.
And that's the meat of the draft. We're talking about the Tennessee Titans have, I believe, round 4, round 5, 2 round 6s, and round 7. Spot Track doesn't really put that up. I thought they had 2 round 5s. But either way, they have a lot of draft picks.
Yeah.
And here we go. This is probably a little bit better. A round 4, 2 round 5s, and a round 6 and a round 7. Okay, so they got that. To me, this is why we need to be looking at these day 3 guys. And I'm not saying these 2 guys I'm about to name, or even 3 guys, because I think they're all interesting to talk about, are going to be available on day 3. But if they're available in round 3, you may be jumping on them. And that's T.J. Parker, L.T. Overton, and Gabe Jackas.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to LT Overton yet, but I like both. Do we know how to pronounce? Is it Jackass?
I don't think it's Jackass.
I don't think it's. I hope it's not Jackass.
It may be Yackas.
Yackas. We should find that out this week. But I was impressed with some of his 2024 tape. I'm still got some tape to watch on him. But TJ Parker is a really interesting guy to me because he was like a top 10 caliber pick going into the season. The season did not go the way I would assume he wanted it to go, but still a really good power rusher. And I think power is one of those things that translates pretty well to the NFL level. So you wonder about the lapses in his tape. Now he's kind of considered a fringe first round guy, but got some good stuff on there. Came in at 6'3", 263 today on measurement day. Really good power rusher that I think, if he ends up being the guy that they come away with, it'll be because a lot of the questions about him were answered this week.
Someone said they thought they heard Akis.
Akis?
This is the one that we'll have to ask Coach Mack on, because you remember he told us it was Beck, not Besh. Or was it Besh or not Beck?
It's Besh, not Beck.
Yeah, he's the one who told us that.
So we kept calling him Jack Beck, but it's Jack Besh. Yeah.
LT Overton is interesting because, we're talking about the guy came in just under 6'3", but 278 pounds.
For an edge rusher, that's above the norm. A lot of these guys are 260-ish.
You want to know what's more interesting? They have him listed as a defensive lineman, not as a defensive end.
How about that?
And that makes a lot of sense. So maybe they're
hybrid
putting
guy. So we might see reps at both this week, I would assume.
TJ Parker, I think, is the most interesting name because I was really high on TJ Parker heading into the year.
Yeah.
And I think when people get really high on a player heading into the year, that skews their perception always towards the positive.
Sure.
And I was so disappointed with TJ Parker. And it may just be something about the Clemson team in general. They had a bunch of guys that underperformed all across the board in all different levels of position. Maybe it's just a Dabo Swinney issue.
It could be.
But I think that's a guy that can have his draft stock make or break. I was actually a little surprised he came out this year.
Yeah.
He's super young, got the measurables. We're talking about 6'3", 263. But that's the guy that really, out of all the guys, I'm the most interested in this edge group, because I think that you look at a guy like Romello Height, who's 6'2", 234. He'll be fun to watch.
Another fringe first guy.
Yeah, another guy like that. For me, besides Gabe Akis, TJ Parker, that's a guy that I want to see. Was the tape real? Which was the real TJ Parker?
Yeah.
The 2024 tape? Or I guess 2024 tape or the 2025 tape? Which is the real TJ Parker? And I think we have a chance to see that. If he has kind of a middling week, then we know that the 2025 TJ Parker was the real TJ Parker. But this is a guy that's so young that if we see flashes of 2024 here this week, then there's a guy that maybe Robert Saleh can take, mold, and do something with.
Yeah, because something that we talked about on the way down here, too, is Robert Saleh seems to like him some powerful edge rushers. You look at some of the guys that have played for him and his defenses, and there's a number of those guys. Two other ones I would mention before we move on. I like Zion Young out of Missouri, and I know he's kind of considered a fringe top 50 guy, but
what about my boy Damon Wilson going to Miami, though?
Yeah,
just want to throw that out there.
We don't have to we have to exclude him from this class now all of a sudden. But Zion Young got some good tape, good power rusher. I don't know what the toolkit is like, but hey, maybe we see that down here. And then, man, I've seen some stuff from Kieron Crawford, the Auburn defensive end, that I'm just kind of there might be something there. There's might be a little juice to his game as well. So it's such a deep group. I'm bummed that Jack Pyburn is not going to be here because I really enjoyed his tape and I was looking forward to seeing him in this setting. But there are some guys that are going to be options for the Titans late in this draft if they want to complement, whether they go Bain or Bailey at 4, or if they want to just add to the rotation, the stable of guys that they already have.
Let's do this. I'm going to let you talk about some offensive linemen that caught your eye, then I'll end it with wide receivers.
Yeah, so I'm stoked to watch Max Ianachor, the Arizona State right tackle. I think he came in around 6'5", 320-ish. A lot of people think he's going to move inside to guard, but I think his tape is good enough to warrant giving him a shot at tackle. Right tackle, we were talking about it on the way down here. There's the best tackles in this class are right tackles. So it's like Spencer Fano, right tackle. Francis Mauanoa, right tackle. A lot of these guys are. Blake Miller, right tackle. But I do wonder if he's an option to kick inside for guard, if he could potentially be the contingency plan. And then maybe we see Jackson Slater kick inside to develop at center. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But some of the other names, Jeremiah Wright, the offensive lineman out of Auburn, came in at 6'5", 340 pounds today during the measurements. Demetrius Crownover, the offensive tackle out of Texas A&M, 6'6", 331. That is a big old boy. And then offensive tackle J.C. Davis out of Illinois. I watched his tape. Came in at 6'4", so, fringe tackle height, but 335 pounds. You watch this guy, and 2024, I'm like, he looks lean. He looks like he has a lean frame. To come in at that weight is encouraging for his prospects of sticking at tackle. This is a guy that I think could be in play. He played left tackle at Illinois. There's some inconsistencies in the tape. I'm not saying this is a bona fide stud, but I think for the Titans, who could potentially be looking at the tackle of the future to develop, he's a name that I would watch this week. I thought his 2024 tape was promising. Haven't wrapped up 2025 just yet. I think they need the tackle of the future, and I think they could use some more depth along the interior of the offensive line, potentially picking up a center. Guy down here, Sam Hecht out of Kansas State. Pretty good tape, could boost his stock with a good week. There are some options down here. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them address the offensive line with a draft pick this year, just to keep fortifying that unit.
Moving to the wide receivers just real quick.
Ted Hurst, baby.
I mean, Ted Hurst is obviously the name that's been in the chat because Iron City Drew Beatty is in the chat.
Shout out Drew.
Very interested to see what he does. 6'3", 207 pounds. I mean, he seems to be the complete package. You always wonder why Georgia State. Why are you still there?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And all that kind of stuff. So now it's a step up in competition. He's going to have some stiff competition in this cornerback room. So this is a great test for Ted Hurst. I am so interested to see just what Jacoby Lane looks like in person.
Kind of stretched out.
6'4", 196 pounds. Obviously, Mekhi Lemon's getting all the looks. But that's a guy that should, 6'4", 196, you should be able to fly and glide for a 6'4" guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Romello Brinson did not weigh in. I guess he may not be down here. Maybe snow. We don't know.
It sounds so. The rumor on the street is that these guys that are still listed on the roster but didn't measure today, there were weather related travel issues.
That's good.
Caleb Banks is the same way, and I'm gonna tell you, man, if Caleb Banks ain't here this week, I'm a lost all hope.
I love to look. See, I'm. This, when we talk about the 6 foot wide or cornerbacks, this is going to be some good competition because you have a lot of 6'2", 6'3" wide receivers. Malachi Fields, 6'4", 218 pounds, Notre Dame wide receiver.
Yeah.
Reggie Virgil, Caleb Douglas. The reason I'm signaling these guys out particularly is because when you're in day 3, Elikai Manor I felt was less than impressive.
Okay.
And that does not mean that he cannot grow, does not mean that he cannot get better. But you still need to, you can develop Elikai Manor while also maybe drafting a guy on day 3 that maybe has higher upside. I'm very interested to see what these guys do against these corners, which they are pretty much, for the most part, outgunned when it comes to corners versus wide receivers. So if you got wide receivers consistently showing up against this cornerback room, I feel like I could take more stock into what I'm seeing from the wide receivers and not ding the cornerbacks as much.
Absolutely. I mean, it is going to be a win for this wide receiver unit if they're out there winning these one-on-one matchups against these cornerbacks.
And I'm not talking about these little TikTok where you have 10 steps.
10 steps before you get into your release. Yeah.
I'm looking for guys with clean releases, short releases, very few steps to get going and to reach top speed quickly. And we'll have all that kind of information as the week goes on as well. Any other wide receivers you want to touch that maybe I forgot?
I want to talk about Lewis Bond a little bit because he's a really interesting prospect out of Boston College. He's kind of a route technician, more of a pro-style offense up there. His tape is really intriguing because he looks like a good route runner with a decent route tree. Going to be a value add, but I feel like his skill set is something that the Titans are kind of lacking in the wide receiver room right now. A guy that can just kind of go to work, run any route that you need him to, and get open that way. So I'm kind of interested in him. Like you said, I would just echo, like, man, this wide receiver group looks undermatched on paper. So if you start seeing guys winning against the cornerback group, I'd say make note of that. Conversely, don't be surprised if these edge rushers are whooping these offensive tackles' asses all week.
I'm very interested in seeing how physical these guys are, because I felt like Eligai Manor lacked a certain physicality to his game this year, and he also had a real hard time just staying up.
Yeah.
And so did Chimere DK, really weirdly.
Yeah,
maybe that's just Cam Ward's throwing trajectory. I don't know. But real quick, anybody that we did not touch on before we go to break, or not break, but
defensive tackle Lee Hunter, 6'3", 320. I mean, that's like a guy that's like roughly my height, but like 40 pounds heavier. That's a big dude. Maybe a little too heavy. We'll see how he looks this week. Linebacker Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech, 6'1", 233. And then a couple of Arkansas guys as we get on out of here. Taylon Green, the quarterback, coming in at 6'6", 229. Mike Washington Jr., the running back, 6 foot, 228. If you need a thumper, there's going to be several guys down here that are going to fit the bill as well. And that's it.
All right, there you go. We'll be back tomorrow. Now, practice ends at 6 p.m. We're about a 15-minute drive, so I would expect us at 6:30 or 6:45. This new practice schedule sucks. Hate it. Miss Jim Nagy already. But other than that, thanks to Lions Ford. LionsFord.net is the website. Lions Ford in Lewisburg, Tennessee. Drive a little, save a lot. They'll give you the most bang for your buck on your trade. Give you any discount that you qualify for on new cars, and they have a good selection of pre-owns. If they don't have it, they'll find it. Thanks to 104.5 The Zone as well. For Stoney Keeley, I'm Zach Lyons. This has been Football and Other F Words, and you have just been effed.